Brave Hearts, Urbanites, Coach Mad Hatters, Urban Creatrix, Crimson Velvet VIPs. I initially got up here to do a sound check, to do a mic check. And then I got to thinking and feeling and contemplating. So I think I'm going to take advantage of this moment and share with you a Pixie proverb. So maybe I'll start with giving you the fundamental definition of what mainstream considers a pixie. And also, let me just say that pixies are synonymous with urban creatrix. They are also known as pixie principles, PRINCIPALS, principles. So like the principal of a school, the principal of a law firm, the principal of a financial boutique, the principal of a dance school, the principal of, excuse me, I'm trying to untangle cords. Good grief. That might be a sign. That might be an ongoing theme. Like, yeah, you have to unravel your cords. Okay. So, pixies have been this incredible presence, pixies and fairies. But I think I've gotten to the point where I'm about to do for pixies what I've already done for fairies, and that's be able to identify them when they come across my path in human form. I often say that we would be so surprised what our celestial body looks like without human flesh. I think we will also be surprised at what are the actualities around good and evil. And I'm always probed to wonder if the story of good and evil has not been flip-flopped like everything else in this realm, that those that hijack the narratives of natural enhancement because they did hijack the narrative. And I remain baffled at how much more evidence do we need. You know that the narrative of evolution has been hijacked. You know that most often things have been reversed or flip-flopped for the sake of hidden knowledge, hidden figures, things hidden in plain sight. And I think one of the greatest one that I have been traveling and curating content is the villainization of the feminine frequency. That's one of the most greatest atrocities ever. And no, I do not come before you rallying for you to enhance or even bow down to the thing we consider woman. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the non-physical frequency to be able to receive, to be able to embrace, to be affectionate, to be attentive. That frequency dwells within every single hue being inside of this realm. We have been conditioned for the sake of social engineering so that those that build these infrastructures may yield them to their satisfaction without, I was going to say without blinded, but that seems insensitive to those who are biologically blind. No, I can't think of a better word right at the moment. To those that are unaware of such shenanigans, are being led by their emotionality. It's almost as if those that are unaware are being hijacked by the short and curlies, energetically speaking. So I've been part of the previewing crowd, because it's quite a bit of people now who have signed on to watch the preview of the documentary Changing of the Gods. And I have made mention in several other sessions that I came to know about this documentary by being a pupil of Richard Thomas and his daughter, Becca Thomas. And some folks want to give me some type of slack for them not being Afro-melanated. But the interesting part about it is one of the things that Brother Bobby Hemmett used to say all the time in his lectures about the custodians of content. And sometimes, because certain people in certain areas, certain places had access to certain things, they were able to have a more deeper connection with the research and how it was developing them. Remember, there are some people that are now in the spotlight distributing information that is honestly for your benefit, but we are so discombobulated with the tender triggers of race that we honestly are allowing things to go by the wayside. So I'm going to read you a rough draft. This is a piece that I'm not particularly working on. It actually morphed into something else. And so, because I've even had folks ask me, why do you post your stuff on these social media platforms or these platforms? And you are a writer, you are preparing to have your pieces be put into the marketplace that you will be or looking forward to establishing streams of income. And I'll tell them, like Tupac once told them, or not even Tupac had to tell them. I think once folks began to situate themselves within side of Tupac's circle, realized that he had a plethora of content that the mainstream never took a look at. Selection after selection after selection after selection. Some of those selections didn't even have titles to them, let alone was getting ready to be ushered up into the mainstream. The underground is a lofty place of concentrated primordial creativity. There will be many things that creatives will produce that will not reach the light of day. And only through inheritance would some folks even know that it exists. Most often, creatives don't create for the value of sharing it with others. They create as forms of therapy, as forms of solace, ways to get aligned with themselves, ways to adhere to the inner voice that's instructing them to do this, that, or the third. So it's usually a brew that is within their intra personal bosom. And if we know anything about the spiritual chords from non physical into physical, just like the roots beneath the forest bed, it's an entire vibe. I have now adopted the flip side of the bearing fruit sentiments. You'll know the tree by the fruit that it bears. And I can't remember who I was sitting in front of. And if I do remember, then I'll make sure I cite the credit. But right at this moment, it's escaping me where I heard it from. But trust and believe, the moment I heard it, I hollered. Because we are always concerned about the fruit. We're always concerned about the sunbeam and that which that produced. We never talk about the deep reaching roots. We were always worried about the fruit. We never talk about the root. Because without the root, you're not getting no fruit. And usually the root is something you cannot observe with the physical eye when it's in its natural habitat. You have to disrupt it and dig it up in order for you to lay eyes on it. But it's also amazing how you can sit up under an elder tree and your body touches some part of the rooting system and you close your eyes and you allow whatever happens in that moment to emerge. I guarantee you get a sense of that rooting system, but you'll never get a sense of it if you don't touch it. Same thing goes for the rooting systems of non-physical spaces. And when I say it's elaborate and it's diverse and it's enchanting and enhancing, all that and then some. So I will be reading from, like I said, it's a rough draft. It's a raw draft is what it is because it's handwritten. I have not even typed this up. But it's called The Pilot's Address. My Nana and Dr. Julia Hare's lecture, No More Games. Which, by the way, this particular lecture is hosted on YouTube. It is a thing. Dr. Julia did a lecture that was called No More Games, and you can go find it. Sit with that for a little while and see what that does for your awareness. So it goes. Nana and I speak and host conversations during an executive produced podcast. It's a community of weekly readers. Nana has been reading and consulting the cards for a really long time. She started her long-standing museship as a form of intrapersonal development. She knew she'd never be able to read for others if she did not lend undivided attention to reading for herself. With this journey, she started the for-profit network Reading for Self, which is capital S, capital E, capital L, capital F, that stands for Sankofa Energy Life force. Now that we have officially joined forces, Nana has been grooming my Clubhouse collectives about her recent studies involving Young UN movement, home office libraries, and Clubhouse CSA or F&B basics. Nana hosts weekly watch parties. They are mostly remote, but the inner circle, they are mostly remote, but the inner circle still meet up at her house on Sundays. She likes to call it documentary and dinner at Big Mama's. Nana is a hugger. Her nature is cardinal, and so her Sankofa-bound ways of knowing maintains its values for her kinfolks inside of her love hubs. Dinner at Big Mama's remains a fixed Sunday scheduling because folks still gotta eat, says Nana. And so that's the end of that piece. And it's merely to serve as a seedling, or I'll take it back to what it is that I've been speaking quite a bit about with regards to Jack and his magical bean, Jack and the Beanstalk. But I'm redefining some things. So Jack and his magical beans, and those that are gender sensitive, Jackie and her magical beans. Remember, spirit is genderless. The only time gender matters is in the physical, because the chords of both frequency is inside of every human embodiment. So here's to my Pixie Proverbs. You'll be hearing more and more about it because, as I said, that was a little ceiling. There is an entire series that has morphed out of this magical bean, if you will. And yeah, I was going to say I'm excited, but I'm beyond that. Mainly because a lot of these storylines that are now connecting dots and showing me a different point of view within our 6 degrees of closeness. I'm no longer tapping into 6 degrees separated. I think looking at it from that point of view hinders me from activating such things. So 6 degrees of closeness. And I am quietly observing those whom are 6 degrees closer to me than they were last year, last week, and those who are not. Because as we continue to mature, we will notice how some acquaintances have to move out of the way for other acquaintances. And that's just the way of life. Hardly ever are we in conjunction with those that we knew when we were younger, all the way up until we are considered elders or we transcend this realm. I've noticed that, and this is including family, there are certain people that rotate in and out according to my timeline of season and cycle. And it doesn't make anybody right or wrong, folks. Ebb and flow in and out of acquaintance, all dependent on everybody's individual journeys. We've been led to believe that folks are supposed to come in our lives and stay in our lives, and that's honestly not true. But because we believe this thing, then that determines how we handle or embrace or deny when these things happen versus honoring the acquaintance itself, just honoring the fact that the acquaintance came across your path. And whatever it is that that acquaintance offered you, meaning that it is the reason why you are now aware of something, the reason why you were able to encounter something, embrace something, engage something. That's the privilege of the acquaintance, not how long it was there. Timeline has nothing to do with it. We honestly are talking about quality versus quantity. I have some strangers now, and I just call them strangers for the lack of a better term. But I have folks that I only met once. And in that little pocket, in that small moment, they left an impression on me for life. Some of them, I didn't even know their names, mainly because I talk to strangers. I'll talk to you. Might not exchange information or anything like that. But if we meet and the I don't even know what words to give it that would do it justice, but I've been that way pretty much all my life. My mom used to talk about it all the time. She said, "How is it that people just come up and talk to you?" I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that part. And we don't be talking about anything heavy, but I will say this. My elders, because I will walk up to you and ask you if you need help with that. If I'm on a mission and I got to be here, or there, then maybe not. But if I am in my moment and I see you, an elder, I'm going to help put your groceries in the trunk. I'm going to help you cross the street. I'm going to stop traffic so that you can get across the street. I'm going to hold the door for you, and it doesn't matter if you male or female. If you elderly, I'm going to pull the door for you. I don't get all caught up in these roles that's been societally engineered. So it's going to be more to come as we unpack the mentality of Big Mama, because I do truly believe that the ancient Big Mamas are back on the scene. They are in this realm. They have taken up residency and slowly but surely came to reclaim from the assassinations of their character. They have returned to put the record straight. And if you really bold and you know that some scripts have been flipped, I guarantee you're going to bump into the real Antichrist. You got to start from the beginning, though. Sankofa is vibrant for a reason. Go back and get it. Go back and get it. Remove yourself from the hoopla. Remove yourself from the righteousness of religiosity. Remove yourself from that for just a moment and go back and get it. And how you go back and get it is that you watch the evolution of the religion that you claim. And I'm not telling you that you're going to unlatch from it. I'm not telling you you need to convert to something else. That's not the point. The point is so that you may enrich your awareness. And anything else that blossoms and blooms as a result, I guarantee you it will be all for the sake of you knowing thyself. And at the end of the day, it is still up to you on how you comprehend these things. Am I doing this so you can all of a sudden go, "Hail Big Mama"? No, because Big Mama have her faults too. And the interesting thing about it is she's circling back not to win you over, but to bring you a better understanding. That's all. She don't need you waving no banners for her. You ain't been waving them. She just wants you to understand the full story. That's all. And then you determine what you do with it. It's almost like the The feminine frequency is finally having its day in court. It's finally going to take the stand and get the fucking record straight. That's all. That's all. That's all. And she will let you know it has never been a guy versus girl type of situation. If you're not talking about both, you're not talking to her. She births both. There's no way she could take sides. What will get her out of her element is if to be forced or stuffed into these mindless, emotionless conversations where anybody would figure that you could prop up one and put down the other. It's both. You need both frequencies to be balanced. You need both to be whole. You need both to be balanced. You need both to be whole. Behold. Come on. Come on. Come on. So yeah. I'm going to end it here. I'm going to end it here. I'm trying to think if there is anything else that I may want to say, but if so, then I'll do a part two. Or yeah, honey, I love multiple parts to things. So if I do think about anything else, when you see a part two, then you know that we have gone into the extended. But I do have other things that we'll be posting. I will make mention, this is keynote, that the segment that I promised me speaking about my opinions around sacred sensuality. Now that was supposed to be over on Podbean, but we've reached a little hiccup. And so I think I'm going to do it here on Zoom and then just post it on my YouTube channel for just to continue to keep the continuum vibrant, especially with my promises. If I say I'm going to post something or a segment is coming, I like to hold up to that. Now, I've dropped the ball a couple of times, but life was wacky and things were happening. And things are still wacky and things are still happening. But I'm trying to get a little better with that. So I think I'm going to re-record that through Zoom and get that up. Yeah. So thanks for hanging out with me. Until next time, I wish you well.